Welcome to this week's painting update. This week I've been painting some science fiction scenery, some power-suited raiders, the robots for Rebel Star, and I rescued a couple of old fantasy miniatures. Let's start with the Moonbase scenery. As you can see and probably hear, Felix is joining me for this video, so he might have some comments to make later. We'll see. Okay, so these are resin pieces from Antenna City's workshop. And starting on the left here, I have some portaloos. I needed some toilets, washrooms, bathrooms, whatever you want to call them, for my Moonbase because it's not feasible that they wouldn't be there. But the thought of making little cubicles, I've got some white metal actual toilets from Black Cat bases, but the thought of making little cubicles was a bit, well, I couldn't be bothered, frankly. So portaloos seemed to be the obvious choice. So I bought the 4 portaloos, quick coat of paint, there we go. Next to them here, these are called atmosphere scrubbers. They're in the infinity range, and I guess they're sort of draw pollution out of the air. But these make good computer towers. I need for the Starlingale scenario, which I'm doing once the Moonbase one is finished, I need 4 computer cores, and they'll make fantastic computer cores, so they'll be scenario objectives. Then in front of them I've got the 4 sets of these desks, which are lovely. They come with some excellent chairs. Can't have a Moonbase without chairs. These are all, I was going to say they're all single piece castings. They're not. These are 2-piece castings. The bases are, you stick them on. The chairs are 1-piece castings. I put them on little MDF bases because I wanted them to be a little more stable and have a little more of a footprint. I based the towers and the portaloos too. So yes, so chairs, single piece, really good. Again, the Starlingale is a spaceship, so for scenario 2, all of this, oh god, sorry, big hand. All of this will be part of the bridge, basically. And then right at the front, you've got these small little freestanding desks, also 2-part, more than 2 part, actually 4-part. At the back, they have these little bits of acrylic rod. I see that one's come crooked. Little bits of acrylic rod that you can cut and put in to make them even more sci-fi. Am I going to bother fixing this? No, probably not. So there you go. A load more Moonbase scenery for my Rebel Star project. Next up are the miniatures for my Rebel Star project. At the front here, I've got some power-suited, vac-suited raiders. These were originally going to be what the raiders looked like until I realised that they didn't have any heavy weapons. So these are Reaper Bones miniatures. They're multi-part. They're really nice. I think they've got a good feel to them. They're not actually animated. The poses are quite. This pose is quite odd. I'm not sure about that pose. I do like the legs. Legs are good. You can't choose how they go together. They have shaped pins and recesses. I mean, you could chop everything off, I suppose. However, they're decent figures. I like them. They'll get used for outside adventures and stuff. So 5 of them. I'm going to move them to the side. Felix will look after them. There we go. Just so we can get a better look at the robots. Okay, so the raiders are accompanied by combat droids. Each squad has a combat droid to breach the walls of the Moonbase. Those are the 3 combat droids. These are from Oathsworn miniatures. They were a Kickstarter and they're no longer available. So that's a bit of a downer because they're really nice metal robots. I painted them gunmetal and then dry brushed them with chainmail, both paints by Coat d'Arms. Gives them a really nice lustrous metal finish, which might not translate onto the camera, but is really nice in real life. Again, I didn't jazz them up. Everything's kind of one colour to keep with the 8-bit graphics. look, but they're nicely defined. I did pick out colour flashes on their on the bolts on their ankles. They're colour coded for the squad they go with, but that's by the by. Also, as a Kickstarter extra, there was the damaged one, so he's going to be turn him around a bit. He's going to be a scenario objective. Someone comes along with the right repair kit and they can get a working combat droid on their side. So that'll be hopefully add a bit of fun to a scenario. Okay, going to move them as well. There we go. Oh, as you can see, they're nice and big compared to the Raiders themselves. So fearsome combat droids. Okay, and lastly, the mining droid. There's only one mining droid on the Moonbase as standard. I had two in a bag, so I painted them both. These are salvage bots by the now sadly defunct Alpha Forge. Again, massive metal miniatures. I have two of these already painted in I have a yellow and a blue one for my Anarchy Offline project. So I did these again. I did these just as bare metal, because they are quite complicated to do, and I wanted to do them quickly. So but they work nicely. Again, the metal is more lustrous than it shows, so they're lovely. I've got two because I can add another one in to make the job for the Raiders more difficult. Somewhere I've got some more, so I might find them and paint them as well, to get them done and on the table. Okay, so that's all the miniatures now for the starting Moonbase scenario for my Rebel Star project. So for me, it's now onto the scenery boards. Okay, and lastly, we'll move on to the old fantasy miniatures that I've rebased. Just 3 fantasy miniatures this week. Starting from the left, this is a Ralpatha Mantis Warrior chap. He was on a kind of scenic base with his hive, and he never actually got used, unfortunately. So I'm hoping, because he's such a lovely chap, I can use him fantasy, sci-fi, maybe even a bit of horror. Who knows? So that's him. And then next is let's move you across a bit. Another Ralpath figure. This is a Planescape miniature from one of the D&D Planescape sets, and I painted it like a worm in a suit rather than a sort of. He's just mad. Just think he's brilliant. Love his face. Can we get? There we go. Look at that. So again, sci-fi, fantasy. He has many uses. And finally, a Grenadier Tree Man. Again, lovely figure, very expressive face. I added clump foliage, which, yes, I guess is all right. I'm not going to change it. He's good, nice. He leans forward. He's got a long trail at the back, so he's kind of off centre on the base, but gives him a bit of forward motion. He's probably available from Molten. I don't know, I didn't look, but he is a lovely tree man, a bit undersized by today's standards. Maybe you can get huge resin ones now, can't you? But he's metal and he's animated and he's pretty nice, so hopefully he'll see some use as well when we next cycle round to doing fantasy games. Right, that's it for this week. Scenery, sci-fi miniatures, rescued fantasy miniatures. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Well, there's Felix, totally uninterested in the proceedings. Yeah. He might see you next time as well.